Hello and welcome, Lanita Ellis, the Scrappy Grandma. Uh, Welcome. This is my Torah portion playlist, our weekly Bible study. The past couple weeks, months, uh, past couple weeks have been a lot, and I've not been able to get to reading the Torah portions, recording them, and I've tried all week long. Normally I do it on Sundays, but I have a feeling that's changing. I've been in prayer and seeking him on if I'm even supposed to be continuing this, with having my dad move here and having to manage all of his affairs. It's overwhelming, and I got a lot going on, but this is life to me. Reading the portions, recording the portions, so I'm in prayer. Be in prayer with me if I'm meant to continue this. But I have, it's prep day right now. It's Friday. It's prep day, and I have a window. So I was like, okay, I'm going to jump on this and get it done during this window. Then I'm going to run down. I'm going to spend some time and have lunch with my dad and the people at his home and do a little grocery shopping and then come home and get ready for Shabbat. So, all right, this week is week 13 and it's Shemot and it means names. So it's interesting. We start the book of Exodus, which is from the Greek name. We know the Exodus story, but actually this book in Hebrew is called Shemot, names, or at least this portion. I think, let me see real quick. And it might not. I'm not sure. So yeah, I just went and got my complete Jewish Bible. And yes, this book in Hebrew is called Shemot, which means, Shem, names, Shemot. And then this portion is called Shemot. And so I'm going to read a little bit out of the Torah Portions workbook from Agape Love. So, and so it's, you know what? Let's back up, rewind, and Father Yah, oh, bless your holy name. You are above all things. We worship you. We give you honor, praise, and glory. Father, be with us during this time. Father, do not let anything that's not of you come out of my mouth. Use this time to lift you up and glorify you, Father. Open our eyes and ears to your truth. Teach us through the reading of your word, and bless everyone who is following along and reading along and listening to this recording. In Yeshua's name, amen. Okay, so Shemot portion is Exodus 1:1. We start the book of Exodus through 6:1. The prophets is Isaiah 27:6 through 28:13, and then also 29, 22, and 23. And then the Gospels is Matthew 2:1 through 12. Okay, and so here's a little bit of, I like to read a little bit of commentary to kind of paint the picture of what we're going to be reading about. So the 13th Torah portion, Shemot, names, begins the book of Exodus by recounting the Israelites' transformation from a family into a nation. After Jacob's descendants settle in Egypt, they multiply greatly, prompting a new Pharaoh who does not remember Joseph to enslave them and order the killing of newborn Hebrew boys. Amid this oppression, Moses is born, hidden by his family, and eventually rescued and adopted by Pharaoh's daughter. As an adult, Moses kills an Egyptian taskmaster and flees to Midian, where he marries Zipporah and begins life as a shepherd. While tending sheep, Moses encounters God in the burning bush and is called to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Initially hesitant, Moses questions his abilities, but God reassures him, reveals the divine name, I am who I am, and appoints Moses' brother Aharon, to assist in the mission. Moses returns to Egypt and confronts Pharaoh, but Pharaoh refuses to free the Israelites, intensifying their suffering. Shemot emphasizes themes of oppression, redemption, divine intervention, and the unfolding of God's plan to liberate his people. So let me share my screen. This one. Okay. Hopefully you're able to see. There we go. All right. Oh, it shows right there. Okay. So, Exodus 1:1. These are the names. Okay, so I'm going to go through this real quick and then I'm going to jump in and explain because this is really interesting. So, these are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob. Each man came with his household: Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Issachar, Zebulun, Benaim, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All told, there were 70 descendants of Yaakov. Joseph was already in Egypt. Joseph died, as did all of his brothers and all of that generation, and the descendants of Israel were fruitful, increased abundantly, multiplied, and grew very powerful. The land became filled with them. So a couple of things. First, there's only 70 men. No, that's right. There's 70, I think it says all total, 70 descendants. So when they went into Egypt and lived in the land of Goshen, which was a blessed, protected land, there were 70 of them. Now, I want you to know, so a couple of things. This portion is called Shemot, meaning names. So that means that the names here are significant and important. And it's interesting because we find here that the names are not in birth order. So I find it really interesting that these, they're not listed in birth order. And so in looking up these names to see what they mean, it actually tells a story and a prophecy, so which is really beautiful. So Reuben means behold, a son. And I realized I don't have my, hold on here. I'm going to pause. Maybe. Okay, I apologize. I put my, I haven't done this in so long. I've forgotten the steps. So, all right, let's resume. So the names, they're not in birth order. So in the meaning of these names tell a prophetic story, which is beautiful. So Reuben means behold, a son. Shimon means hearing, or the Shema, hear and obey. Levi means joined to. Yehuda means praise. Issachar means reward or recompense. Zebulun means house. Benaim means son of the right hand. Dan means judge. Naphtali means wrestling. Gad means group or troop. And Asher means joy. So when you put it all together, behold, a son who we've heard, and behold, a son who we've heard and we've been joined to in order to give praise to him. There is a reward for those dwelling with the son of the right hand. He is the judge who strives or wrestles for the troop or groups and brings joy. So I just thought that was really fascinating. And it just shows the Father is just so good. Yah is just so good that he, just puts little nuggets like this in So, all right. So back here. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, and he knew nothing about Joseph, but said to his people, look, the descendants of Israel have become a people too numerous and powerful for us. Come, let's use wisdom in dealing with them. Otherwise, they'll continue to multiply, and in the event of war, they might ally themselves with our enemies and fight against us and leave the land altogether. See, they didn't want them to leave the land. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor. And they built for Pharaoh the storage cities of Piton and Ramses. Now, interesting, when they came into Egypt, they are shepherds. Last portion they told Pharaoh, Joseph had that, let them know that you're shepherds. And Pharaoh even had them, you know, tend his own flocks. But now they're having to change occupations, um, and become laborers, builders, craftsmen. But the more the Egyptians oppressed them, the more they multiplied and expanded until the Egyptians came to dread the people of Israel. So it's interesting here. Oppression and pressure with Yah brings about multiplication and expansion. So, and this is something that I've been learning firsthand, the past few months, which I've been under extreme pressure, with taking care of my dad and preparing for him, and then, just everything, all of his doctor's appointments and insurance and just so much. Um, but it has brought about multiplication and expansion, in my life, in that I've been blessed and honored to be able to practice everything I've been learning. And in through the pressure of it all, it's brought forth fruit, good fruit, in my life. So, so here the Egyptians oppressed them, but they multiplied and they expanded until the Egyptians came to dread the people of Israel and worked them relentlessly, making their lives bitter with hard labor, digging clay, making bricks, all kinds of field work. And in all this toil, they showed no mercy. Moreover, the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was called Shiphrah and the other was Puah. And I didn't look up their names. I wanted to. I have them on my list here to look them up. Um, when you attend the Hebrew women and see them giving birth, he said, if it's a boy, kill him. If it's a girl, let her live. However, these midwives were God-fearing women, so they didn't do as the king of Egypt ordered, but let the boys live. Now, that's a real telling sentence right there. Um, there may come times where we have to obey the Most High over the laws of the land. The king of Egypt summoned the midwives and demanded of them, why have you done this to let the boys live? Here they're even lying. The midwives answered Pharaoh, it's because the Hebrew women aren't like Egyptian women. They go into labor and give birth before the midwife arrives. Or maybe maybe they weren't lying. Maybe the father made that the case to where they didn't even have to be faced with making that decision. Therefore, God prospered the midwives, and the people continued to multiply and grow very powerful. Indeed, because the midwives feared God, he made them founders of families. And this is something I need to make a note of. I wanted to look into, um, founders of families. There is some Jewish thought that, these two women were, Jochebed, which is Moses's mother, and Miriam, Moses's sister. But, yeah, I don't know where that came from, and it's just a thought that's out there. But, that he would make them founders of families. So Pharaoh gave this order to all of his people: every boy that is born, throw in the river, but let the girls live. So a man from Now it's interesting. That whole first chapter, it mentioned all the names. Now, pay attention here. There's no names. A man from the family of Levi took a woman, also a descendant from Levi, as his wife. I don't know Moses' father's name, but I know Moses' mother's name is Jochebed. But notice in this chapter, there's no names. When she conceived and had a son, and upon seeing what a fine child he was, she hid him for 3 months. Once again, no names. When she could no longer hide him, she took a papyrus basket and coated it with clay and tar and put the child in it and placed it among the reeds of the riverbank. Now, interesting, the Hebrew word they use here is the same word they use for the ark, Noah's ark. And this is very similar in that she made an ark for him um, and put him in the water. His sister, not named, Miriam, his sister, stood at a distance to see what would happen. And it's interesting because for years I didn't connect the dots that his sister, this young girl now, when he's a baby, is Miriam, who, leaves with them. And so anyway, interesting. So the daughter of Pharaoh, once again, no name, came down to bathe in the river while her maids in attendance walked along the riverside, spotting the basket among the reeds. She sent a slave girl, notice no names. She opened it and looked inside, and there in front of her was a crying baby boy. Moved with pity, she said, "This must be one of the Hebrews' children." At this point, his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, this is beautiful how the father just lined all this up. So Miriam said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Would you like me to go find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" And Pharaoh's daughter answered, "Yes, go." So the girl went and called the baby's own mother, Jochebed. Pharaoh's daughter told her, "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will pay you for doing so." So the woman took the child and nursed it. Then, when the child had grown some, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and she began to raise him as her own son. And she called him Moshe, meaning pulled out, explaining, "Because I pulled him out of the water." Now, some things here. Um, how beautiful is it that the father allowed Jochebed to spend more time with her son? I mean, all the other Hebrew, there's all these other mothers are losing their children into the Nile. So, and this is something I've always wrestled with is Pharaoh wanted all of the Hebrew boys killed. Pharaoh's own daughter takes a Hebrew child out of the river and raises him. And I was like, why would a Pharaoh allow that? He's trying to kill them all. And why would he allow this child, knowing it's a Hebrew child, to live? And I've wrestled with this for decades. And yesterday in our Bible study, there was a lot of the sisters, they had different things. And one of the things I um, learned is that to them, the Nile was a god. The Nile River was a god. And if they were pulling up a live child, also that this basket, they say, was similar to like a coffin that they would put dead body in. And so you figure here's Pharaoh's daughter. And then also there was some talk about that Pharaoh's daughter was actually doing some sort of ritual cleansing, almost like a baptism or something, some sort of, because they have bathhouses and everything. So why was she bathing in the river? And it was, it's been said that maybe she was doing some sort of ritual cleansing or something like that. And, you know, that the belief is that she found a live child that came up out of the river, that he must somehow be holy or a god. And that's why he was allowed to live. Now, of course, we don't know because it doesn't say, but so I don't know if you've got some thoughts, because I've never been able to reconcile it in my brain why Pharaoh allowed this, because he's killing all these kids and then these boys, and then all of a sudden his daughter comes up with one, and it's like, oh, okay, let's let one of these Hebrews live. It just made no sense. Um, so Moses flees to Midian. One day when Moses was a grown man, and so he spent 40 years in Israel, in Egypt.
So when he was a grown man, he went out to visit his kinsmen, and he watched them struggling at forced labor. So he grew up in the palace as a prince, but he knew that he was Hebrew. So he looked this way and that, and he went and he saw that no one was around, and he killed the Egyptian, and he hid his body in the sand. So Moses, he was being a redeemer. He was protecting his Hebrew brothers. The next day, he went out and he saw two Hebrew men fighting with each other. And to the one who in the wrong, he said, "Why are you hitting your companion?" He retorted, "Who appointed you ruler and judge over us? Do you intend to kill me in the way you killed the Egyptian?" Moshe became frightened. Clearly, he thought the matter has become known. So it's interesting here. The Hebrews still saw him as an Egyptian. I'm sure he wore Egyptian clothes. He had Egyptian haircut. He looked Egyptian. Um, and so they didn't accept him because it was like, why are you doing this? Why'd you do that? Are you going to do this anyway? So when Pharaoh heard of it, he um, so now Moses is in fear. When Pharaoh heard of it, he tried to have Moses put to death. But Moshe fled from Pharaoh to live in the land of Midian. And one day he was sitting by a well. It's so fascinating that so many brides are found at the well. So anyway, the seven daughters of the priest of Midian, came to draw water, and they filled their troughs to water their father's sheep. Now, Jethro, or Raul, he's got a couple of different names, Jethro, Raul. Um, he was a priest of the Most High. He was a priest to Yahweh, and but a priest in Midian. Um, and so when the shepherds came and tried to drive them away, when the shepherds, okay, he filled their troughs and to water their father's sheep. When the shepherds came and tried to drive them away, Moses got up to defend them, and he watered their sheep. Once again, here's Moses being a protector. When he came to Raul, their father, I apologize. When they came to Raul, their father, he said, "How come you're back so soon today?" And they answered, "An Egyptian," see, they're seeing him as an Egyptian because he's dressed, looks like an Egyptian, "rescued us from the shepherds. More than that, he drew water for us and watered the sheep." He asked his daughters, "Where is he? Why did you leave the man there? Invite him to have something to eat." And Moshe was glad to stay on with the man. And he gave Moshe his daughter Zipporah in marriage. She gave birth to a son, and he named him Gershom, meaning foreigner there. For he said, "I have been a foreigner in a foreign land." God hears Israel's groaning. It was really interesting because I read this with my grandkids, with Kai and Eliza, in the beginning of the week, and it's just so beautiful. God here. Sometime during those many years, the king of Egypt died, but the people of Israel still groaned under the yoke of slavery, and they cried out, and their cries for rescue from slavery came up to God. He heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And God saw the people of Israel, and God acknowledged them. And it was interesting because Kai, he's like, he remembered them. And I'm like, "Yeah, what does that mean to you?" And he said, he remembered that he was in covenant with them and that he had made them promises. And I was just like, oh my gosh, he's 10 and just so filled with wisdom. I'm proud grandma. So, but yes, he remembered that he had a covenant. He had made promises to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He had made promises. And so he's like, "Oh, I've got to," you know, he warned them that this would happen. He warned Jacob that this would happen, that they would go into slavery and everything. But now he's remembering them. So two, one, two. Why is it? Oh. Maybe I'm already to three. There we go. Sorry. The burning bush. Now Moshe was tending sheep of Jethro, his father-in-law. See, before it said Raul, now here it says Jethro. He was, and those are a couple of names I want to look up also. I didn't get a chance to look these ones up. But Moshe was tending the sheep of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. Leading the flock to the far side of the desert, he came to the mountain of God, to Horeb. The angel of Adonai appeared to him in a fire blazing from the middle of a bush. And he looked and he saw that although the bush was flaming with fire, yet the bush was not being burned up. And Moshe said, I'm going to go over and see this amazing sight and find out why the bush isn't being burned up. Grabbed his attention. When Adonai saw that he had gone over to see, God called to him from the middle of the bush, Moshe, Moshe. And he answered, Here I am. This is something, as you read through all of this, when the Most High calls and they respond, Here I am, that lets us know when we hear his call, that needs to be our response. Here I am. He said, Don't come any closer and take your sandals off your feet because the place where you're standing is holy ground. I am the God of your father, he continued, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, the God of Yaakov. Moshe covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Adonai said, I have seen how my people are being oppressed in Egypt and heard their cry for release from their slave masters because I know their pain. I have come down to rescue them from the Egyptians and bring them up out of the country to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the place of the Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite, Perizzite, Hivite, and Uzvi. Yes, the cry of the people of Israel have come to me, and I have seen how terrible the Egyptians oppress them. Therefore, now come, and I will send you to Pharaoh so that you can lead my people, the descendants of Israel, out of Egypt. Now, I had always been troubled. It's like, why? Why is God going to go and get rid of all of these tribes? Isn't it their land? Why? And I think people to this day are troubled, with this. But in doing research and study, these people are actually from the descendants of Ham. And when Noah, had Ham, Shem, and Japheth, um, he sent them out, and the father sent them out to their own land in their own languages. And Ham was supposed to go to the south, Egypt, Africa, and those areas. But Canaan, remember, he was cursed because Ham uncovered his father's nakedness, or, because of that with Ham. Um, these tribes actually went to a land that was promised to Shem. Shem was to get the land to the east, and Japheth was to get the land to the north and the west. And so they were actually not given this land. They were squatting, basically. They went and took land that didn't belong to them. So, it helped me to understand. It's like, oh, this land was always meant for the descendants of Shem. And now it's time, he's promised that he's going to take them back and give Shem his land back. And Moshe and the Hebrews are descendants of Shem. Okay. So, yes, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have seen how terribly the Egyptians oppress them. Therefore, now come, and I will send you to Pharaoh, so that you can lead my people, the descendants of Israel, out of Egypt. Moshe said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? Now, I find this really fascinating that, Moshe was a prince. He was a prince in Egypt. Now he's having to go to Pharaoh. This is not the Pharaoh that raised him. This is a different Pharaoh. No. Yeah, that's a good question. That's something I need to research. Was this the Pharaoh who raised, that Moses was raised in his house, his home, in his family? Um, so he was 40 years old. He spent 40 years in Egypt. Then he went and spent 40 years in Midian, in the desert, being a shepherd. And Yahweh took that time and made a shepherd out of him, because that's what he's going to be doing. He's going to be shepherding the people of the Most High. He's going to be shepherding the Hebrews. So he had 40 years of learning to be a good shepherd, but still, he still has his own um, areas where he doesn't feel confident. And like, how would you? You've spent 40 years out tending sheep, and now he wants you to go, like, do all of this, go before Pharaoh and lead his people, and that's a lot. So he replied, I will surely be with you. Your sign that I have sent you will be that when you have led the people out of Egypt, I'm sorry, here. He replied, I will surely be with you. Your sign that I have sent you will be that when you have led the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Remember, he's on Mount Horeb. Moshe said to God, look, when I appear before the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What am I to tell them? So, you've got to picture this. Here's Moses, who has been raised 40 years in the Egyptian palace, in Pharaoh's palace. So the Hebrews are looking at him going, yeah, no. And then he's been gone for 40 years. In the stories, I'm sure that they've told, about how he killed, and, Moses was a murderer. Um, so why are they going to trust him? And God said to Moshe, Eliah, Asher Eliah, I am, will be what I am, will be. So I am what I am, or I will be what I will be. And he added, here is what to say to the people of Israel. Aliyah, I am, or I will be, has sent me to you. Aliyah. God said further to Moshe, say this to the people of Israel. Yod He Vav He, and that is the YHVH. Those are the letters in Hebrew. Yod He Vav He. Adonai, the God of your fathers, and this is the first time that he says his name. The God of the fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzhak, and the God of Yaakov has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is how I am to be remembered generation after generation. Yud He Vav He. Because there's no vowels, it's just the consonants here. They've done all kinds of different, so there's Yahuwah, and there's Yahweh, and there's Jehovah, and all the different names. And I've struggled over the past several years as to what to call him, from this, and, learning from other believers, and settling on different things. I believe that there is a very sanctified, special name, and that's Yahweh, which you can see, Yahweh, Yahweh. But because I'm wanting everything to be a little more easy to understand for people who are just starting to learn about his name, and that his name isn't God or Lord. Those are titles and have been written into the Bible. And it's like his true name, Yod He Vav He, Yahweh, has been removed or replaced like almost 6,000 or 7,000 times in the Bible. So, so for sake of unity and easy understanding, I have kind of landed on this year. And those of you that have been following me through the years know that I started out with Yahuwah, and then I went to Yahweh, Yah for short. But I'm really feeling convicted to go with Yahweh. And the reason why is because Yahweh is more universally understood. I mean, I remember when I was calling him Yahuwah, and my stepdad, Tom, he was like, I had to go look it up. I didn't know who you were talking about. And I was like, oh, it's causing confusion. I don't want to cause confusion. And then, like I said, I've been, just struggling with this on what to call him. And so, like, I've come to Yahweh. And Yahweh, like I said, is more universally, universally understood. as his name. So that's where I'm landing on that for now until he uncovers or reveals, if he reveals more to me, to change that. So anyway, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, the God of Yaakov has sent me to you. This is his name forever. This is how I'm to be remembered generation after generation. This is important. Not as God, not as Lord. Yud He Vav He. That's his name. Go gather the leaders of Israel together and say to them, Adonai, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, has appeared to me and said, I have been paying close attention to you, and I have seen what's being done to you in Egypt. And I have said that I will lead you up out of the misery of Egypt to the land of the Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite, Perizzite, Hivite, and Jebusite, to a land flowing with milk and honey. They will heed what you say. Then you will come, you and the leaders of Israel, before the king of Egypt, and you will tell him, Adonai, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Now, please let us go 3 days' journey into the desert so that we can sacrifice to Adonai, our God. I know that the king of Egypt will not let you leave unless he is forced to do so. So he's telling him that it's not going to be easy. But I will reach out my hand and strike Egypt with all of my wonders that I will do there. After that, he will let you go. Moreover, I will make the Egyptians so well disposed towards my people that when you go, you won't go empty-handed. Rather, all the women will ask their neighbors and house guests for silver and gold jewelry and clothing, with which you will dress your own sons and daughters. In this way, you will plunder the Egyptians. Moshe replied, but I'm certain they won't believe me. So he's already speaking death, speaking negative. In his mind, he's thinking negative. They won't listen to what I say because they'll say, Adonai did not appear to you. We got to take it all the way back 40 years ago before he fled. He tried to mediate between the two Hebrew or, Israelite men, and they didn't, they responded negatively to him. So he's still remembering that. So, and then Adonai answered him, what is that in your hand? And he said, a staff. He said, throw it on the ground. And he threw it on the ground and it turned into a snake. And Moshe recoiled from it. Then Adonai said to Moshe, put your hand and take it by the tail, which is not something you would do. You would not grab a snake by the tail because they can reach around and they can bite you. But this was his instruction. He reached out his hand and he took hold of it and became a staff in his hand. How much courage did that have to take? Because I know I've had to deal with snakes here, and yeah, I don't have that. And I don't hate snakes, but I don't like rattlesnakes. And I've had to deal with them, and so yeah, I would have a hard time. This is okay. So Adonai said to Moshe, okay, and then so this is so they will believe that Adonai, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov, has appeared to you. Furthermore, Adonai said to him, now put your hand inside of your coat. And he put his hand in his coat, and when he took it out, his hand was leprous, as white as snow. Then God said, now put your hand back in your coat. And he put it back in his coat, and when he took it out, it was as healthy as the rest of his body. If they won't believe you or heed the evidence of the first sign, they will be convinced by the second. But if they aren't persuaded by even both of these signs and still won't listen to what you say, then take some water from the river and pour it on the ground, and the water you take from the river will be turned into blood on dry land. And Moshe said to Adonai, oh, Adonai, I am a terrible speaker. I've always have been. And I'm no better now. Even after you've spoken to your servant, my words come slowly. My tongue moves slowly. And Adonai answered him, who gives a person a mouth? Who makes a person dumb or deaf, keen, sighted, or blind? Isn't it I, Adonai? Now, therefore, go, and I will be with your mouth and will teach you what to say. So this is always like, oh, I'm not very good at reading, or I don't understand well, or I don't comprehend. You know, the word says that the Holy Spirit is the one that brings all things to remembrance, and he is the teacher and the counselor. And we may not be good at reading or comprehending or, putting things together, but if you've got the Holy Spirit, if you've got the Ruach HaKodesh, he brings all things to remembrance. He is our teacher. He is our counselor. And so he is who opens up our mind to understand the ways of the Most High, to understand Scripture, to understand the Word, to be able to do the things. He equips us to do the things that we've been called to do. So, but he replied, please, Lord, send someone else, anyone you want. At this, Adonai's anger blazed up against Moshe. So he got frustrated with him. It's like, come on, I'm here. I'm going to help you. And then he's like, fine. Don't you have a brother, Aharon, the Levi? I know that he's a good speaker. In fact, here he is now coming to meet you, and he'll be happy to see you. Now it's interesting. Okay, so he's on, this just kind of, he's on Mount Horeb. He's been in the wilderness for 40 years tending sheep. Why is Aharon, who has stayed in Egypt, why is he coming to meet him right now? Interesting that the father set that up. You will speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and his, teaching you both what to do. Thus, he will be your spokesman to the people. In effect, for you, he will be a mouth, and for him, you will be like God. Now take this staff in your hand because you'll need to perform these signs. So basically, Aaron's going to be the mouthpiece, and to Aharon, Moshe, and this is the case with all the Israelites. Moshe is going to be the mediator. He is a type and shadow of our Messiah, of Jesus, of Yeshua. He's the mediator. He's the way to the Father. So then Moses returns to Egypt. And it's like, now I'm going to have to answer another question. Why was Aaron meeting Moses in Midian? If any of you have any insight, please let me know, because that's kind of fascinating to me. Okay, so now he's returning to Egypt. Moshe left, returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, I beg you to let me go and return to my kinsmen in Egypt to see if they're still alive. Jethro said to Moshe, go in peace. Adonai said to Moshe in Midian, go on back to Egypt because all the men who wanted to kill you are dead. So Moshe took his wife and his sons and he put them on a donkey and he started out for Egypt. And Moshe took God's staff in his hand. Adonai said to Moshe, when you get back, interesting, he calls it God's staff. So Adonai said to Moshe, when you get back to Egypt, make sure that you do before Pharaoh every one of the wonders that I have enabled you to do. Nevertheless, I'm going to make him hard-hearted and he will refuse to let the people go. So, fortunately, he warned Moshe that, this wasn't going to be easy. So then you're to tell Pharaoh, Adonai says, Israel is my firstborn son. I have told you to let my son go in order to worship me, but you have refused to let him go. Well then, I will kill your firstborn son. At a lodging place on the way, Adonai met with Moshe and would have killed him. Interesting. More questions I have. Anyone's got answers to this one. Had not Sephora taken a flintstone and cut off the foreskins of her sons, she threw it at his feet, saying, what a bloody bridegroom you are for me. This has always stumped me here. I mean, Moshe was raised, he was Hebrew, but he was raised in Egypt. Chances are who knows if he was circumcised. I mean, he probably should have been circumcised before he ended up, being put in the ark, because he was hidden. His mother hid him, you know, for a while, for a few months. So he was probably circumcised. Sorry about the dog. Baby, go outside. Go outside. Why didn't he circumcise his sons? But anyway, Sephora took care of it. And how did she know to circumcise the sons? Because she was raised in Midian. So these are questions that I've had and more things to research. But then God let Moses be. Um, God lets Moses be. She added, a bloody bridegroom because of the circumcision. Adonai said to Aaron, go into the desert and meet Moshe. He went, met with him at the mountain of God, and kissed him. Moshe told him, okay, so maybe this is coming back around. Oh. Moses told him everything Adonai had said in sending him, including all the signs he had in order to perform. Then Moshe and Aaron went and gathered together all the leaders of the people of Israel. Aaron said everything Adonai had told Moshe, who then performed the signs for the people to see. And the people believed when they heard that Adonai had remembered the people of Israel and seen how they were oppressed. They bowed their heads and they worshiped. After that, Moshe and Aaron came and said to Pharaoh, here's what Adonai, the God of Israel, says, let my people go so they can celebrate a festival in the desert to honor me. But Pharaoh replied, who is Adonai that I should obey when he says to let Israel go? I don't know Adonai, and I also won't let Israel go. They said, the God of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the desert so that we can sacrifice to Adonai our God. Otherwise, he may strike us with a plague or with the sword. The king of Egypt answered them, Moshe and Aaron, what do you mean by taking the people away from their work? Get back to your labor. Look, Pharaoh added, the population of the land has grown, yet you're trying to have them stop working? That same day, Pharaoh ordered the slave masters and the people's foremen, you are no longer to provide straw for the bricks of the bricks of the people are making, as you did before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. But you will require them to produce the same quantity of bricks as before. Don't reduce it, because they're lazing around. This is why they're crying, let us go and sacrifice to our God. Give these people harder work to do. That will keep them too busy to pay attention to speeches full of lies. The people's slave masters went out, the foreman too, and said to the people, here's what Pharaoh says, I will no longer give you straw. So you go yourselves and get the straw wherever you can find it, but your output is not to be reduced. So the people were dispersed throughout the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. The slave masters kept pressing them, keep working, make your daily quota, just as when the straw was provided. The foremen of the people of Israel, whom Pharaoh's slave masters had appointed over them, were flogged and asked, why haven't you fulfilled your quota of bricks yesterday and today, as you did formerly? And the foremen of the people of Israel came and complained to Pharaoh, why are you treating your servants this way? No straw is given to your servants, yet they keep telling us to make bricks. And now your servants are being flogged, but the fault lies with your own people. Lazy, he retorted. You're just lazy. That's why you say, let us go and sacrifice to Adonai. Get going now and get back to work. No straw will be given to you, and you will still deliver the full amount of bricks. When they said, you are not to reduce your daily production quota of bricks, the foreman of the people of Israel could see that they were in deep trouble. As they were leaving Pharaoh, they encountered Moshe and Aaron standing by the road. And they said to them, may Adonai look at you and judge accordingly, because you have made us utterly abhorrent in the view of Pharaoh and his servants, and you have put a sword in their hands to kill us. Moshe returned to Adonai and said, Adonai, why have you treated this people so terribly? What has been the value of sending me? For ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has dealt terribly with the people, and you haven't rescued your people at all. Adonai said to Moshe, now you will see what I'm going to do to Pharaoh. With a mighty hand, he will send them off. With force, he will drive them from the land. So that's the end of the Torah portion. Now in the Brit Hadashah, I'm not sorry, the Brit Hadashah, in the Haftarah, the prophets, Isaiah, there it is, Isaiah 27:6. There we go. The time is coming when Yaakov will take root. Israel will bud and flower and fill the whole world with a harvest. Adonai will not strike Israel as he did others who struck Israel. He will not kill them as he did the others. Your controversy with her is fully resolved by sending her into exile. He removes her with a rough gust of wind and a day when it's blowing from the east. So the iniquity of Yaakov is atoned for by this, and removing his sin produces this result. He chops up all the altar stones like chalk. Sacred poles and sun pillars stand no more. So they got rid of all of the Asherah poles and false the idols. For the fortified city is alone, abandoned and deserted, like the desert. Calves graze and lie down there, stripping its branches bare. When its harvest dries up, it is broken off. Women come and set it on fire. For this is a people without understanding. Therefore, he who made them will not pity them. He who formed them will show them no mercy. On that day, Adonai will beat out the grain between the Euphrates River and the Vadi of Egypt, and you will be gathered one by one, people of Israel. So this is, Israel, Isaiah is talking about when they are in exile. And this is prophecy. On that day, a great shofar will sound. Those lost in the land of Asher will come. Also, those scattered throughout the land of Egypt, they will worship Adonai on the holy mountain in Jerusalem. This is still what we're waiting for, the great shofar to sound and us to be taken back to the land. And so that was Isaiah, and then through 28:13. So woe to the haughty crown of Ephraim's drunks, to the fading flower of its proud splendor, located at the head of the rich valley, belonging to people overcome by wine. Adonai has someone strong and powerful. He comes like a hailstorm, a destructive tempest, like a flood of water, rushing, overwhelming with his hand. He hurls them to the ground. The haughty crown of Ephraim's drunks, the haughty crown of Ephraim's drunks is trampled underfoot. The fading flower of its proud splendor, located at the head of the rich valley, is like the first ripe fig of summer. Whoever sees it picks and eats it. On that day, Adonai Sabaoth will be a glorious crown, a brilliant diadem for the remnant of his people, the remnant. He's bringing back to the land. He will also be a spirit of justice for whoever sits as judge and a source of strength for those repelling enemy attacks at the gate. But there are others reeling from wine, staggering about because of strong liquor. Cohen and prophet, priest and prophet, reel from strong liquor. They are confused by wine, led astray by strong liquor. They err in the visions and stumble when judging. All tables are covered with vomit and feces. Not a single place is clean. Can no one be taught anything? Can no one understand the message? Must one teach barely weaned toddlers, babies just taken from the breast, so that one has to use nursery rhymes? Ah, Zav la zav, zav la zav, kav la kav, kav la kav, zer sham, zer sham. So precept by precept, precept by precept, line by line, a little here, a little there. That's what that meant. So with stammering lips in a foreign accent, Adonai will speak to his people. He once told this people, it's time to rest. The exhausted can rest. Now you can relax. But they wouldn't listen. So now the word of Adonai for them comes precept by precept, precept by precept, line by line, a little here, a little there, so that when they walk, they stumble backwards and they are broken and trampled and captured. And then also 29, 22, and 23. Therefore, here are the words of Adonai, who redeem Avraham concerning the house of Yaakov. Yaakov will no longer be ashamed. No longer will his face grow pale. When his descendants see the work of my hands, they will consecrate my name. Yes, they will consecrate the Holy One of Yaakov and stand in awe of the God of Israel. And then the Brit Hadashah, the Gospels is Matthew 2, 1 through 12. After Yeshua was born, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem, in the land of Yehuda, during the time when Herod was king, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem. Now, I've been learning here that we just had Christmas, and of course, then it brought about all the discussions of, the wise men and the star and the manger and the whole business. These Magi were like sorcerers and magicians and stuff, and astrologers. They had seen it in the stars to go. Um, So after Yeshua was born in Bethlehem in the land of Yehuda, during the time of Herod was king, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the newborn king of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard of this, he became very agitated, and so did everyone else in Jerusalem. He called together all the head Kohanim, the head priests, and the head Torah teachers um, of the people and asked them, "Where will this Messiah be born?" "In Bethlehem of Yehuda," they replied, because the prophet wrote, "And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Yehuda, are by no means the least among the rulers of Yehuda, for from you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Herod summoned the Magi to meet with him privately and asked them exactly when the star had appeared. Then sent him to Bethlehem with these instructions: "Search carefully for the child, and when you find him, let me know so that I may go and worship him too." And after they had listened to the king, they went their way, and the star which they had seen in the east went in front of them until it came to stop over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. Upon entering the house, they saw the child with his mother Miriam, and they prostrated themselves and worshipped him. Then they opened their bags and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But they had been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, so they took another route back to their own country. So that is the Torah portion for this week. Yeah, willing, I will be able. Uh, Honestly, I can't even say when I'm going to be able to record. I'm Each day is basically I wake up and I strap myself into his roller coaster and just hang on and go where he leads me. So I don't believe I'll be able to record on Sundays. I know I can't record on Mondays because that's the day I watch the kids, my grandkids. Um, Tuesdays is a possibility. Wednesdays is a possibility. Thursdays, we have our women's Bible study. Um, and then Friday is prep day. So and it's interesting because I had actually been contemplating doing it later in the week instead of earlier in the week so that I could share things that I had learned through the week in studying the portion, so that I could share more about what I had learned and like what I had learned in studying myself and then learn from our Torah portion calls and those type of things. So Fridays might be the day from now on. It's a great prep day. It's the day that I prepare for the Sabbath. I usually go down and see my dad and have lunch with him and then do my grocery shopping and then come back and prepare prepare the meals and everything for the Sabbath. So um, maybe next Friday, Yah willing, I will come back with Bible study for week 14. So I hope this blessed you. If you have any questions or if you know of any of the things that have been stumping me, questions that I've had, hey, put them in the comments or contact me. I'd love to hear from you if you've been watching these. I have to honestly say that kind of got to the point it's like nobody's watching these, nobody cares about these. Why am I even doing this? I'm just out of obedience. It's not like I'm trying to gain followers or anything like that. I don't care about any of that. It's basically just to walk in obedience. He told me a couple years ago to read these and record them and share them. That's what I've been doing. Um, And I guess every now and then my flesh comes up as like, why am I doing it? Is it even worth my time? Is anybody even listening? Does anybody even care? And then, of course, as soon as I start asking and thinking those things, I have, friends contact me and it's like, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate what you said and whatever. So until he releases me, or, I will continue to record as he gives me time and brings it about and share what he teaches me. And I hope it blesses you. Have a wonderful Sabbath, and we'll see you next week, y'all willing. Be blessed. Bye.